Welcome back to another episode of Nerding Out with Beythastar. As always, I'm Beythastar. So this series is going to focus for a few episodes on the Vega graphics cards. But before we do that, I do want to set a baseline. So here we have my main graphics card. This is an ASRock Challenger Radeon RX 7900 GRE. I took it out already, cleaned out the thermal paste, and I gotta reinstall drivers. But before that, I did run some benchmarks. We did GTA 5, Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, Smushy Come Home. I do need to run them for Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm also going to be running them for Overwatch. I had a friend who convinced me to play a bit for benchmark, so I'm just doing it for that. Not really trying to get far in the game or, get a high rank. So yeah, this first episode will focus on the RX 7900 GRE, and then the next one is going to focus on a different graphics card I have, the Vega Frontier Edition. So stay tuned to see how that one turns out. Okay, so right now we are on GTA 5, specifically GTA Online Enhanced Edition. Let's get this cleaned up. I am running the game at 4K maximum ray tracing settings on the RX 7900 GRE. I do have it FPS locked to 60, and then I'm using frame generation to bump that up to 120. But let's see what happens once we disable that. We are going to turn off the frame limit, and we're turning off frame gen. We're running at FSR 3 performance. It is going to be different depending on the person, but I found that me specifically, I do not actually notice much from, there we go. All of the FSR versions look the same to me. Anyway, we are now running it at, let's see, 60 FPS. That sounds about right.
Hey.
Did something else get bumped up? I don't think it did. In any case, we're running well. That's pretty much why I was running frame gen, because it's already close to 60. So I might as well just bring that up to 120 for my TV. I am noticing the GPU clock is staying around 2200 to 2250. It can go higher than that. I've seen it go up to 2550. But it is, it does have to stick to a low GPU temperature. We are currently using about 12 gigabytes of VRAM, 12 and a half. Keep in mind, this is the 7900 GRE, so there is no HBCC enabled. That is going to come into play later on once we switch over to a Vega graphics card. The first one we'll be testing is a Vega Frontier Edition. That will be next time we do one of these videos. But for right now, we're just testing out games for a proper baseline on what I'm using right now. No point in showing benchmarks of a graphics card if I have nothing else to compare it to. Even if this is pretty different. For the benchmark, I'm just going from the house in Paleto Bay all the way down to my house in downtown Vinewood. Over here, we are hitting about 80 FPS, 75 to 80. That's to be expected. This place is a little easier to render. Dodge that. The one variation you'll see is sometimes we'll be going Paleto Bay to Vinewood, other times we'll be going Vinewood to Paleto Bay. Although I will say for the Frontier Edition, I already have that recorded. The overlay did not show up at all. In fact, screen recording was next to impossible to pull off. I'll talk more about that in that video. So that one has its own benchmarks, but they're a consistent 35 to 50 FPS across all games we tested. With the exception of Smushy Come Home. That game just is always easy to run. Anyway, we are pulling back into the city right now. I think from now... Oh, I did see some shimmer. I almost never do, but this time I did. I'm not doing Let's Plays anymore just because they do not bring in any views. It makes more sense for me to stick with these nerdy videos, which I'm perfectly happy with. I like doing these. I find that I'm a lot more animated when it comes to talking about that than I am about Let's Plays. And that's probably why those videos don't get much views anyway. Okay, so looking back at the benchmarks, we are currently at around 260 to 280 watts, which is fairly high, but all of these graphics cards that we're testing will be around that amount. That could have been a big crash. Okay, drift here, there we go. I like this car. It's like a Mustang. In total, we tested GTA Online Enhanced. We did Overwatch 2. I'll probably be doing that as well. I should do that as well, to be honest. It did get a new update recently, so it is worth checking. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, Cyberpunk 2077, and Smushy Come Home. That's my character. Got the nice suit, the big hat, and the beautiful glasses. Right now, the graphics card is hitting around 2050 to about 2080 megahertz. I'm going to have to check the curve on that later on. GPU memory is still at 12.5 gigabytes. Memory temperature is at 96 degrees Celsius. GPU temperature is at around 83 to 84. And we're looking at 18 gigabytes of system memory. That number isn't going to be a big deal right now. It is going to come into play later on once we start using HBCC. So the story behind Vega, and I'll switch over to the next game while I'm talking. I'll shut down, thank you. So the story of the Vega architecture is that... Let's open up big screen mode. Too loud. Okay, Monster Hunter Wilds is another game we're testing. Vega 64 graphics cards and a 56 both had 8 gigabytes of HBM2 VRAM. That is half of what we're using right now. We have 16 right now. But they had this cool technology called high bandwidth cache controller. What that does is it takes that VRAM and turns it into a kind of cache. That gives the computer, well, it gives the graphics card access to half of your system memory and lets you use that as additional VRAM. This computer right now has 64 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, so that's 32 available through HBCC. And what I want to see is how does that come into play? How does it affect performance? And how much memory do you want to have in order for it to be useful? The Vega Frontier Edition already has 16 gigabytes of VRAM, so it's not going to see any improvements in performance from using HBCC. Not as long as we're using less than 16 gigabytes, which we're not going to be hitting more than that. However, that does give us a baseline to compare the regular Vega 64 to when it starts using more than 8 gigabytes. That's part of the comparison we're going to be making, and I do need to set up the proper bar graphs for that so we can see what happens. That will be in the very last episode. Episode 1, which we're doing right now, is just benchmarking the GRE for a baseline performance. Episode 2 is Vega Frontier Edition for, again, baseline performance, but specifically for Vega. Episode 3 is the actual learning experience. And I'm very excited to be working on the Vega 64. The new graphics card came in yesterday. I still need to clean it up, but it's going to be a lot more useful for this because unlike the Vega Frontier Edition, it can be overclocked. It can be undervolted. We can make it run faster than stock. Frontier Edition is very weird. You'll see that. Actually, you probably won't. You won't even hear it. It only has a slider for fan speed. Doesn't sound that bad until you hear the fan. That thing screams like a jet engine at max speed. And you want to be running it faster because as it cools, as the GPU hits lower temperatures, it automatically overclocks itself. Last year when I did this, it went up to 1800 megahertz. This time it only went up to 1700. Compared to the Radeon 7, the card that was made as its replacement, it's still comparable. It's still a you don't need to replace it kind of upgrade or kind of overclock. But the 1800 megahertz was really nice because at that point it is soundly doing better than the Radeon 7. Anyway, for Monster Hunter Wilds, we were running it at 1080p Ultra. So we're going to stick with that. Just as is. We're not changing anything here. No frame generation. No upscaling it automatically goes quality, so we're sticking with that. So everything as is. Normally, yeah, I'd keep motion blur off. I don't like that at all. Vignette effect, we'll turn that off just because all it does is darken the corners. But that's it. I do want to turn off the FPS frame cap. The frame rate cap, I mean. Another thing I tested recently was AMD noise suppression. Because... Oh yeah, I have it running in Portuguese because I think it's funnier. I can pick up on a little bit of Portuguese just because it's similar to Spanish. But I don't know, I'm not a speaker. Alright, so we're setting that as... There we go. Oh, it's already uncapped. Okay. So right now we're at 60 FPS. 48 to 55 for the 1% lows. It's fairly consistent. For anyone who's who hasn't seen any of these benchmark videos before, 1% lows are kind of the worst case scenario. That's the frame rate drops. You want that to be as close to your average FPS as possible. The lower it is compared to average FPS, the more stuttery the performance is going to look like. We also have frame time. Right now we're at about 14.5 to 15 milliseconds. Same thing, you want that to be lower, but more specifically, you want it to be consistent. You don't want that to be a big range. So the fact that we're at about half a millisecond of range is still pretty good. I'm just going through everything that you see on the overlay in the top right corner. GPU utilization, is it running at full speed? Is it trying at all? Which, as you can see, it's kind of trying, but not really. I see that CPU utilization is in the mid-70s, 80s, so if anything, it looks like it's being bottlenecked by the CPU right now. What that means is that we can raise the performance more. It's gonna have less of a penalty. We can lower the performance more. It's not gonna give us any boost. This is as good as it gets, which isn't bad. Same thing as with GTA Online Enhanced. What I would do is set the frame cap to 60 and then turn on frame gen to get it to a smooth 120. Frame generation, for those of you who haven't used it before, will put in a fake frame in between real ones. It does require some processing power, so it's not going to be a perfect double frames unless you're using a second graphics card or integrated graphics to do that processing. Hey! But in this case, if it's mostly going to be at 70 to 80 anyway, the drop isn't going to be... it's not going to lower it to less than 60 FPS. So I wouldn't even have a problem with that. So when I tested the Vega Frontier Edition, this is a quick spoiler, I guess, it was hitting around 25 FPS in this game. Whereas right now we're hitting 60 to 80. Actually, no, I want to go, yeah, over here. Another thing you'll note is that we are currently at 12.7 gigabytes of VRAM use. If the game does more than 16, we're in trouble, because at that point, the computer is going to suddenly have to use system memory. If it's not expecting that, or if it doesn't have that high bandwidth cache controller, you're going to get a performance drop. We don't want that. So this is a pretty healthy spot to be at. Okay. Now that we did that, what we're going to do next is turn on that frame cap. We're going to set it to 60. This is just so we can do another run around, and you can see what I'm talking about. Then we go over here. We could lower the upscaling to balance our performance, but as you can see, we're doing alright. The overlay up top, is you're going to see it stick to 120. That is with the frame generation, so you want to divide that by 2, and that will get you the real rendered frames that we're hitting right now. It does say a smaller frame time. Keep in mind that's because it's still counting the 100 to 120 FPS. So you want to double that frame time to see the true a bit of lag. So we're actually hitting anywhere from 16 to 20 milliseconds. Because I believe we are. It does feel buttery smooth, so I'm not too worried. You will also notice that the 1% lows are a lot lower than before. They're currently at 80 compared to what used to be 45 to 55. Keep in mind that we doubled the frame rate. So if it was the same rate as before. It should have been closer to 100 to 110. Instead, we're at mid-70s, which means it is going to feel a little more stuttery at times. That being said, 60 is already pretty smooth. So an FPS or a 1% low of 75 is still pretty good. Alright. Another thing you'll notice, it's kind of subtle, but when I move side to side, there is that bit of ghosting. It's very jagged looking. That's one of the main issues with frame generation. I do want to get a new screen for something very different. I have a theory. I need to test it out, obviously. But I have a theory that using a screen that supports interlacing could essentially get you the same performance boost of frame gen without using fake frames. I want to look that up. I want to see how that is. Anyway, we're going to go back to rice pudding and, just exist near him. Oh yeah, I should explain that. The kid is called Nata. I call him rice pudding because Nata is milk fat solids that form on top of rice pudding. I can't help myself, I'm Mexican, you know we make these nicknames. Anyway, game looks good. This would be a pretty good way to have the game running. And here we are. That's going to be it for this. Let's move on to the next game. Okay, next we're going with Cyberpunk. Seems the game was chosen for me. Cyberpunk is going to be very different in terms of benchmarking. It has its own benchmarking tool, which, from what I've seen with other YouTubers, is a lot more optimistic. Take it back, the game already froze. Okay, that was weird. I want to see if we're still recording. Yeah, we are still recording. I guess the game just wanted to be weird. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing as Monster Hunter Wilds, so we're dropping resolution down to 1080p. We'll keep VSync off, maximum FPS off. Come on. Graphics. We're gonna do... Yeah, might as well do Ultra, yeah. Ultra, no ray tracing. Unless we want to go with, I kind of want to see that just to see how it goes. This is not normal. This is not how I would play the game. Normally, I don't even use ray tracing, but I kind of want to see what happens. I believe the RTX 4090 at 4K gets 9 FPS on this benchmark. We're running it at 1080p, but we're not using a 4090 either, so I don't expect this to be good. Huh. That's actually not bad. It doesn't look pretty though. I don't know, this benchmark has never looked beautiful to me. Well, not the inside of El Coyote Cojo. But once you get outside, this probably looks decent. Shoot, I might just start running it with ray tracing after all. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. Okay. Well, let's go back. Alright. No, we're going with the presets. Okay, Ultra. Everything as is. Okay. Now let's see how it actually runs. This is what we're going to use to compare to the Vega Frontier Edition and the Vega 64. As you can see, we are currently at 11 gigabytes of VRAM usage, as well as 16.8 gigabytes of system memory. We're currently at 130, about 130 FPS, with 115 for the 1% lows. Very smooth, but again, I would probably just lower this to 60 FPS and then turn on frame gen. Reflections do look different. I will admit, the puddle on the ground is not as accurate, but at the same time, how often do you look at puddles on the ground? So I'm still iffy on ray tracing.
Huh?
I wasn't talking. What are you talking about? Who's hawing me? I was just drinking water, fool. Alright, there we go. So, minimum FPS of 81.91, maximum of 149.57, average of about 120 FPS. This is what we want to look at specifically, the VRAM usage, 11 gigabytes. So, we're going to see frame rate drops, obviously, on older graphics cards like the Vega 64. But we are going to see a lot of VRAM being used. That's what matters. I'm specifically running games that use more than 8 gigabytes so that we can compare performance with those two cards. Get out of there. And we have 2 left. We're going to be running Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Do I want to do Overwatch? Nah, we'll do Solar Crown and then Smooshy Come Home. Some of you might be wondering, why do I run Smooshy Come Home if it runs on anything? And the answer to that is, it runs everything. It's an average indie game experience. Not everybody's going to be running these kind of games. Not everybody's going to be running AAA games or very demanding ones. So for that kind of person, I want you to have an idea of what you're going to get with indie games. We do have maintenance scheduled, so I don't know if that's going to be right now. I'm really bad at time zones. We have a 120 hertz display. Turn off VSync. And we are going to run you at quality. Save that. Good graphics. Again, ultra. Yeah, sure. Display. I think that's it. Yeah. I hope we're not too late. (1080p) ultra settings. We are currently at about 120 hertz. Is that? Hold on. No motion blur. No vignette either. Okay. We are currently at 12 gigabytes of VRAM usage. That's what I want to see. 86 to 90 FPS. 1% lows of about half. That is not good. That's brutal. So we're going to see stuttering. And for the benchmark, because there is no official one, we just go from the Solar Hotel to the Sharps HQ. And no music because it might be copyrighted.
In 200 meters, turn right. Turn right. Then turn right.
We've dropped to about 70 FPS. 1% lows are still at around 50, mid-50s.
Turn left.
Close.
In 200 meters.
Not as brutal anymore,
right.
but still pretty bad.
Turn right. Continue straight ahead.
This would feel, honestly, a lot smoother if I dropped it down to 60. Drop it to 60 and then have the VSync turned on. Pretty game though, at 1080p Ultra.
In 1 kilometer, turn right. In 400 meters, turn right. Turn right. Continue straight ahead.
I'm not way full.
In 1 kilometer, turn left.
I got something in my eye. Okay, we're good.
In 400 meters, turn left. Turn left. Then turn left. In 800 meters, turn left. In 400 meters, turn left. Turn left. Then turn right.
This game took me over a year to get to level 60,
Turn left.
which is when the base game officially
In
ends.
200 meters, turn left.
It was brutal just because of how boring the game could be.
Turn left. Then turn left. You have arrived.
Okay, so 70 to about 80 FPS for average, 1% lows of anywhere from 50 to 55, 12 gigabytes of VRAM usage, and 15 gigabytes of system memory. My prediction is going to be that between the Frontier Edition and the 64, we are going to see a slight frame rate drop when we use HBCC. But we are also going to see it be way better than if we stuck the Vega 64 with 8 gigs and watched it suffer. Hopefully we see that, where it goes from being unplayable to essentially having a new life. Because the whole point of this series isn't look at how amazing the Vega 64 graphics cards are, go buy one right now. They're 8 years old. It's a very old architecture at this point. It's powerful, sure, but it's showing its age already. So it has nothing to do with the raw performance of Vega 64. What I want to show you is HBCC is very effective, and it needs to be brought back. I am aware that right now we do have the RAM shortages, but at the same time, you don't actually need a lot of memory to get it to work. It works with as little as 8 gigabytes of system memory. It sets aside half of that, so 4 gigabytes. Granted, we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be giving it the full 32 gigabytes that it can access on this specific computer. So we are going to be doing benchmarks with a 40 gigabyte VRAM buffer graphics card. Right now, though, I'm kind of just doing laps. I don't know why, honestly. I'm already done. I'm gonna change vehicle. So that's what I've been driving right now. I like this one a lot. I wish they had the Carrera GT in this game, but they don't. So I settled for the 19 Spider. But let's use it to talk. We're just gonna drive back for fun. Oh, well. Very snazzy car.
Turn right. Then turn right.
Difficult to drive in this game, though. I made the mistake of saving up for this one during the Ferrari versus Lamborghini levels. This is the lowest performing, or one of the lowest performing Lamborghinis you can drive. So I had to max upgrade it just to compete with the others. That was my mistake.
In 800 meters, turn left. In 400 meters, turn left. Turn left.
I will admit, I'm kind of glad that I'm doing these recordings again. I did have actual recordings before, but I did not realize you have to physically turn on the ability to record the AMD overlay with adrenaline. So it just looked empty, and it looked like I was hallucinating pretty much. And that is no good. I missed the exit, okay. That's no good when you're trying to see the numbers. Because then at that point you're like, dude, I don't know. We could have just kept going. I don't know why the game made me take the exit. I tried running this game as a benchmark on a different computer, and because I was kind of lazy, I just saved the game that I was benchmarking onto my SSD, the same one that I'm recording off of. So that ended up making the transfer rate super slow, and what ended up happening was the game would actually hang, and I'd be forced to just like stop right here for a solid minute while the rest of the area loaded. It was horrible. Oh, we skipped it. That's why it wanted me to take that exit.
In 200 meters, turn right. Turn right.
The thing I don't like about this game is it's a simulation racer. What kind of is?
Turn left.
So you actually have to think about how fast to go, how early to brake,
Turn left.
when to stop braking so you can actually turn.
Continue
I am
straight ahead.
notoriously bad at that. That's why I like Ridge Racer. The best way to go is to go faster.
Turn right. In 800 meters, turn right. In 400 meters, turn right.
Slow down here. Ow.
Turn right. Then turn left.
I remember hearing that... Oh, not here? Okay. Eventually, they want to add housing to this game.
You have arrived.
I want to see how that looks. Because right now, your only housing is in the Solar Hotel. That levels up with you. Because I'm already at level 60, it's going to be the best one. So I'll show you what that looks like. But I mean, you saw it when I left. Go in here. So this is the master level home. With an actual outside patio. And they let you sit. Not out here, though. Which I think is doo-doo. I remember when I saw that you can't sit here. My immediate response was, my day is ruined. You sit here, though. Amazing. That's it. I don't think other players can even join you in here. So you just sit and do nothing. Anyway, over here you have the bedroom area, which I don't like the fact that it's an open space. That's creepy. I don't like that. I like to have a door in my bedroom. Unless I have a studio, but that's a different story. Here's whatever car you have at the moment, so... You can't change it here. Oh, you can also leave your bedroom to go to your car. How'd you get up here anyway? I have no idea how I got here. That is my car. I'm staring at my car. But yeah. Came to sit here. Alright, that's enough of this game for today. Now let's go check out Smushy Come Home. While I'm at it, I should transfer the videos that I recorded on my phone. Export unmodified originals to transfer folder. Alright, I'm almost completely done with this game, and we're not going to be doing any achievements. Instead, we're just going from Garden of Spring all the way to Lake of Bloom, and then teleporting back to Smushy's home. Pretty simple route. Oh, we don't want to start over here. We want to start where you actually spawn in. Yeah, over here. So you can see in the top right corner, we have an average FPS of 120, which also means that it's being capped. 1% lows of, well, right now it's at 110, 108. So it's pretty close. Surprisingly, you cannot go back. Yeah, you cannot go back to the start of your adventure up there. You have this is as far as you can go. So we're gonna go from here all the way to the Lake of Bloom, which isn't too hard. Like, we have maxed out stamina and sprinting. We have the maxed out floating. We have the double wall jump. So, getting there is super easy. To make it a little more interesting, we are going to check out a cave or two. But yeah, if you want to go immediately there, you go that way. Yeah, we got up here already. We already spoke to that wind spirit. Oh, it's loaded. Okay. I forget that I recorded 4K 60 FPS videos. Super easy because the fans are already active. This is not a this really isn't a walkthrough. And there's that whole area over there, which we can go through there, might as well. Yeah, there's really no challenge anymore. That's okay. Running around is still fun. We went too far. Here we go. Area 2. Videos finished transferring. When you run your own private server, who needs cables to transfer data? We have a minigame over here we can do. 45 seconds to get 20 drops. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, wait, I have 9. Shit. Oh. Let's go, let's go. I see 22. We win, we win. Fuck a what? Augmenter, let's go. Alright, let's see. Let's check out the new skin we got. Ooh, that's cute. Honey. I like my Precious Shroomy a lot more, though. So we're sticking with that. Alright, we'll do this second cave as well. We won't do the third because you have to go out of your way to get to it. And let's be real, I'm kind of lazy. Oh, flower. Okay, quick drink of water before we do this. I like that the song that plays depends on whether or not there's light in the cave. There you are. Go down there. Oh, almost forgot. Now more yummy. Chungy gummy. There is a mushroom called Chungy. I don't know the implications behind that. I've also been wondering where the humans are in this game. Alright, and there's the exit. Okay. Now, to get to the last area, you just go through here. And that's it. From here, there's no way to make your way back to the island. So I don't think talking to the capybara will do anything. Yeah, no, you can only talk to them to ride them. Which is still pretty cool. Might as well go to the last area. Same thing, I've already done everything, the Liminal Woods. There's really nothing else to do besides just get the last achievements. Which... I don't have any way of checking here. Yeah, I can go in there to get more hints on the last skins I need, but that's it. I'm pretty much done. So I always go use Magic Conch again, go back to Smushy's home, and call it a day. Yeah, the capybaras do kind of look like coconuts. I must be the mushroom. Very cool. So yeah, that was all the GPU benchmarks for the RX 7900 GRE. We knew it was going to run well and everything, so there's no point in really trying to overclock it for me. I do want to see how much it costs right now. We'll do that for each of the graphics cards that we run. So let's see. For that, we just do a quick eBay search. So RX 7900 GRE. So right now, yeah, it's about $500. That's to be expected. There's a auction for 440, 575, 600, 450 with read. So probably not running well or something. 500, 550, 650, 515. So yeah, about $550. That's how much I'd expect to pay for that. The graphics cards we'll be testing next are going to be way cheaper than that too. So we'll see how they compare. But in the meantime, that's it for today. I'll see you guys next time. You'll have a good one.